Hello everyone and welcome back to Lying Lowe in Fallout 76. In our last episode, we followed Calvin Van Lowe's trail to Bysshe Park, where something had burned his handler, codenamed Bo Peep, to death on a playground. From there, we began tracking Wolf, the fixer the Bysshe Company hired to clean up any mess Bo Peep and Calvin might have made by killing them. We found his old base in Beckley, then followed his trail back to Lewisburg, where we learned that he killed 2 police officers who were investigating Calvin Van Lowe. From there, his trail led us to Bo Peep's monitoring station, and finally back to Van Lowe Taxidermy, where we'll finally find out just what all of these people were up to that necessitated this level of secrecy and paranoia. At Bo Peep's monitoring site, we found a keycard and some cryptic instructions about doing laundry. And back in Van Lowe's basement, we find another note about laundry. Let's put this puzzle together.
Shell, I don't want our last days together to be filled with my nagging, as Calvin puts it, so I'm writing a few things down for you to read later. Reminders: wash your whites separately. Remember that time you threw your red socks in? If you have to wash your more delicate unmentionables, remember to dry them with low heat. You wouldn't want to ruin them. And don't forget to use the calendar to keep track of laundry day. And most of all, remember, I'll always love your brother and you, my little shell bell, Mom.
Putting 2 and 2 together, it appears that we need to set the washer to delicates and the dryer to low heat. After that, if we look at laundry day circled on the calendar, we can press a button and open a secret door hidden in the wall. This must be the secret construction project that Bysshe was doing overnight here at the Van Lowe's shop, the one the police sent the noise complaint letter about. I also imagine that note wasn't actually left by Calvin and Shelley's mother. As we make our way into this secret area, we can see leftover building materials, but more conspicuously, a large trail of smeared blood on the floor. It looks like a bleeding body was dragged out of here. We can also see a large robotics assembly platform, much like what we saw in Fallout 4's Automatron DLC, and a mess of robot components strewn all over the room, as well as some taxidermy heads in a bin. On the east end of the room, we can see what looks like a modified Assaultron standing in the corner, and a technical diagram drawn out on a chalkboard on the wall. Calvin was apparently modifying an Assaultron for the Bysshe Company and trying to at least make it look like a sheep squatch. This explains the scorch marks on the playground at Bysshe Park. Calvin must have brought his project along to his meeting with Bo Peep as requested, and apparently it didn't take a liking to Bo Peep. The big question now is why? Why were they doing all of this, and perhaps, how did it all go so terribly wrong? To answer those questions, we'll need to search the room for some more clues. First, we find a note titled Property Deed.
Property Deed, Lewisburg, Van Lowe Taxidermy. This document hereby transfers ownership of the property and business for Van Lowe Taxidermy, located in Lewisburg, from the owners at the time of signing, Shelley Van Lowe and/or Calvin Van Lowe, the signing owner, to the Bysshe Company.
So the Van Lowes, or at least Calvin Van Lowe, didn't just allow his employers to build him a secret lab. He actually sold them the entire business. It seems that Shelley was unaware of this, and they must have just let her continue running it effectively as a front for their operation. If we continue our search, we find a newsletter titled CH Monthly, August.
Cryptid Hunter Monthly, August 2077. We're proud to present a very special edition of our monthly newsletter, an interview with Garrison Guy Fogarty, renowned author and field research specialist for all things cryptids. Mr. Fogarty was able to sit down with me earlier this week to discuss his latest work. And from that came a compelling question that could shake the foundation of cryptid research. Do cryptids reproduce? Could it be that a singular entity is capable of surviving decades, centuries? Or are these creatures no different from less extraordinary specimen? This question has been of specific interest to Mr. Fogarty ever since his early work involving the elusive Mothman. He went on, "If these creatures reproduce, they must then mate, no? And with mating comes rituals." I pressed him to explain how this could affect the ways we hunters approach our work. "It changes everything, Ms. Park. Just think, sporadic but clustered sightings, their confused behavior, their tendency to return to specific locations, almost like a spawning ground." Guy's passion and enthusiasm was contagious, but I asked if he could summarize the hypothesis. "What if human contact with cryptids coincide with their mating seasons? Perhaps we could use this knowledge as a method for predicting their movements." Fascinating. I then asked if he had any suggestions for steps we could take to utilize this knowledge. "Emulation," he replied, with an odd smirk that Guy Fogarty fans know all too well. "Perhaps if we learned their rituals, their desires, we could lure them out. We could emulate those behaviors to create the proper stimuli." So I asked, is he suggesting we try to woo cryptids? "I'm simply raising the question of emulation." I shudder to think what type of emulation it may be, but I do urge you, dear readers, to consider the possibilities. Garrison Fogarty's new book, Cryptic Cryptids, The Puzzle of Procreation, will be out in early 2078. Julia H. Park.
Oh no. This must be the article Calvin was thinking of on the holotape we found during our first visit here.
The sheep squatch isn't real. The sheep squatch isn't real. But if it is, then I could... Oh, interesting. I hadn't considered that. I wonder if I still have that article about the, No, hey, no! Stay focused, stay on task!
Lastly, we find the password to the assembly platform in an old tool chest. There we'll learn everything we need to know. And as I look at the blood on the floor, I have a terrible feeling about how Calvin's sheep squatch obsession, this idea to emulate their mating rituals and whatever this secret project was, must have all come to the most gruesome of endings. If we examine the assembly platform terminal, we'll find a new series of check-ins, this time from Black Sheep to Bo Peep and Bysshe HQ. And the first thing we see is status check-in failure 2 of 2, await the arrival of your assigned fixer. Yes, I'm sure plenty of people just wait patiently while someone comes to kill them. Let's look at check-in 1.
Bo Peep. Based on the topographical survey, it would appear the primary areas of interest are concentrated on the western side of town. I'll focus my efforts there first. I hope the construction is as fast and discreet as you claim. My sister will be returning Sunday evening. Best, Black Sheep. P.S. Please send along the paperwork for the store. If we want to avoid suspicion, the sale will need to be finalized before the market value drops in Lewisburg. After all, I have high hopes for how effective our sightings will be.
And now we understand what this was all about. The Bysshe Company hired Calvin to build a robot that would emulate a sheep squatch and use it to scare people out of Lewisburg, driving down property values and allowing the company to buy up the town. We know from Fallout 3 that Bysshe has interests in natural gas resources, and it stands to reason that Lewisburg, located on the edge of the ash heap, could be sitting on top of valuable resources. The next question is, how did things go, and did Calvin's obsessions and that increasingly uncomfortable article about cryptid reproduction get the better of him?
The Assaultron unit provided for Mary's little lamb is less than adequate. I'm unable to keep it running, let alone program a custom routine of any valuable effect. Can you imagine if it broke down mid-route? I've sent HQ some specifications. I hope they can deliver. Best, Black Sheep. The new model is fantastic. Should I even ask how we acquired it? The stealth capabilities are beyond anything I've read about or studied. Just perfect. Thank you for coming through. The sightings I've staged so far have not stirred up enough public attention yet. However, I'll need to be a little more aggressive with future attempts. Best, Black Sheep.
So after some initial equipment challenges, it looks like Bysshe came through and delivered better stuff for Black Sheep. Let's find out a little more.
Operative Black Sheep, failure 1 of 2. This is your first and final warning.
Calvin responds in check-in number 5.
I understand the frustration from HQ. I am well aware of the costs, the risk. I am also aware of what happens if the big bad wolf comes knocking. I do not appreciate the threats, and they will not accelerate this process. The previous sightings simply lacked authenticity. I have a plan, but I need your patience. Black Sheep.
And now we can read one final entry. Check-in number 6, failure 2 of 2.
Operative, Black Sheep, failure 2 of 2. Request for fixer has been filed. Your assigned fixer, Big Bad Wolf. Operatives are requested to remain in place until assigned fixer has arrived.
Clearly, even the nefarious Bysshe Company has not managed to escape the often idiotic bureaucracy of the pre-war Fallout universe, because I'm sure that everyone who has a fixer assigned to them is just gonna sit tight and wait. Now, we can't actually see the last check-in entry until we've reviewed the last of Calvin's behavioral reprogramming session logs. When we look at that section, there are 3 sessions that, if we click on them, tell us the logs have already been retrieved. So we can't actually see or listen to those notes. But we can tell that Calvin was working on 2 distinct Assaultron models, as they each have different serial numbers. The second one being the more advanced model that he was so thrilled to have received from Bysshe. When we retrieve that last session log, a holotape is added to our inventory called Behavioral Reprogramming. Let's give it a listen.
Right. Let's see here. Script begins on page 25, so... here we are. Now beginning behavioral reprogramming on model number RX00 and so on. I, Calvin Van Lowe, hereby agree. Accountability, death and or dismemberment, blah, blah, blah. Well, that was a waste of time. Okay. Listen here, Mrs. Saltron. I'm going to be augmenting your behavioral subroutines.
Acknowledged.
Okay then. I'll just insert the data here. Did that work?
Received. Custom behavioral parameters. Sheep's watch.
Excellent. Now, this next part might seem a little odd, and to anyone listening, I assure you, this is necessary.
Received. Custom behavioral parameters. Sheep's watch. Mating rituals. Error. Request conflicts with guidelines. Report filed.
Wait, what? Wait, no, it's nothing like that. It's nature. It's just for the... Wait! Execute administrative override.
Received. Request for overwrite. Confirmation needed.
I confirm.
Confirmed. Primary behavior will be overwritten with submitted routine. Sheep's watch. Rebooting.
Wait, no, don't overwrite. I said override. It should only augment the... Wait, what do you... Wait, no. No!
my God. Well, now we can confirm that Calvin's obsession did indeed get the better of him. Those mating ritual subroutines he installed, well, apparently they were quite aggressive. Whether they were accurate or not will forever be unknown, but they clearly worked, just not in the way Calvin would have hoped. Those smeared bloodstains on the floor must be from Wolf dragging Calvin's body out of the lab. While our questions about Calvin are answered, we still need to know where Wolf went next, so let's head back to the terminal. Our final check-in entry now reads, Emergency check-in, and it's from Wolf to HQ.
HQ, this is Wolf. Mary's little lamb is AWOL. Black Sheep is MIA. Evidence suggests KIA. Requesting backup operatives. Meet at Garahan Estate. Coordinates attached. Wolf out.
And with that, we complete the quest, The Lowdown, and begin Wolf in sheep's clothing. We'll need to follow Wolf's trail to the Garahan Estate if we want to learn how all this ended up for the big bad Wolf. When we get to the Garahan Estate, we find an elevator that requires a keycard to access. A keycard that we don't have. But we also find a note left by someone else who tried to get in here before. Maybe that'll give us a clue.
Look, I don't know where you are or what's taking you so long, but I can't get this son of a bitch elevator open. I've tried the hammer, the drill, the blowtorch. Hell, I even strapped some mines to the damn thing and barely a scratch. What the hell do they make these things out of? I'm gonna try to see if I can find the keycard over in the mining HQ. If not that, then maybe one of those mining power armor things. If you get back before I do, hold tight.
Fortunately, the Garahan HQ is basically right across the street from the estate. Apparently, the Garahans were not fans of long commutes to work. When we get here, there are some robots to deal with in the parking lot, and depending on where you're at and what you have done in Fallout 76, different quests will pop up here. I've got a marker for the excavator armor quest and to find the keycard. That's kind of cool how they tied it all together like that. So sort of depending on where you're at, you get a little bit of versatility in how the game shows you around. When we go inside the HQ, there are some more robots that we'll need to fight off. These are going to be a bit tougher, especially for this character that is not well optimized for much of anything, but it's not too terribly difficult to get to the keycard. We don't have a long journey to take. Eventually, we will make our way to an office across that main lobby and go through a set of double doors. And when we get inside, we're going to see that there's a Colonel Gutsy that we'll need to deal with. And if that's the thruster, that's your quickest way to take down a Gutsy. And if we look at the desk, we'll find a keycard for the estate. When we head back to the estate, we can swipe the keycard at the elevator, which will now conveniently open the doors, and we'll see a quest marker pointing us to the top floor. Not long after we exit the elevator, we'll learn that the top floor of the Garahan estate is infested with ghouls. On the lower floors, we'll find mostly easy ghouls, nothing too terribly intimidating. But when we get to the top floor, we'll find a glowing one, and sometimes it can be a Wendigo. Once we've cleared out all the threats from the top floor, we can look for more clues about Wolf in a terminal mounted to this support beam. Before we look at Wolf's emergency check-in, we can read some personal logs from Alan Garahan to give us a little more context. The first is Home Sweet Home.
Well, here I am, back at home with the family. Ugh, what did I do to deserve this? I should have been more careful. If I hadn't run through Dad's money like I did, I could be living it up on a tropical island somewhere and not back in Colesville. Damn it, investment advice my ass. I guess I should be grateful to Aunt V for taking me in at least, but I don't even have my own room. I'm stuck slumming it on Cousin Bryce's party couch until God knows when. Yup.
New security measures.
Well, Aunt V finally threw some work my way. Guess she got tired of me taking up space in her hot tub. The company just got a delivery of some prototype anti-robot machines of some kind, but they're insane. She doesn't want anything to do with them, so now it falls to me to dump them somewhere. Did the guys in R&D really expect us to sabotage the Hornwrights by electrocuting ourselves with these contraptions? Good grief.
A fortunate encounter.
I found some sucker to offline the anti-robot things on. At least, I think he's a sucker. He made me kind of nervous. This Mr. Wolf said he was a business associate of Aunt V's. Sounds slimy, but what do I care? Hell, he creeped me out, but he paid well. Now I'm done with this business and with spending money to boot. It doesn't sound like Aunt V much cares what I did with those machines. She's got a lot on her mind right now, I guess.
So it sounds like Alan Garahan somehow came in contact with Wolf and made a deal to sell him some kind of anti-robot security device that was quite painful to use. Let's learn a little bit more from his check-in.
HQ, Wolf here. I've secured some devices from Canary that should help. I hear using them will be painful though. Very risky solo, but the other agents haven't arrived. I'm not waiting any longer. Gonna set up the capture site in the hills northwest of Lewisburg. Should have that AWOL unit back in no time. But just in case, I'm leaving a spare key and plans nearby. Check the wagon at the Garahans. Send another agent to pick them up if it comes to it. Wolf out.
Checking the trunk of a car that's on display in the mansion, we find the supplies Wolf was talking about, notably an Assaultron Recall keycard and a new weapon, the Fixer. The Fixer is a unique variant of the combat rifle. It provides two unique benefits, a buff to stealth abilities and faster movement speed while sneaking. It also does 20% more damage than a standard combat rifle. It's a pretty solid weapon for any stealth character. There are ways to get legendary versions of it as well, which we'll touch on before the end of this video, but even in its non-legendary form, this is an excellent quest reward. After we pick up Wolf's supplies, we can head to his pylon ambush site near Lewisburg if we want to try to capture the escaped Assaultron. When we arrive, we find the place infested with more ghouls, and sometimes a Wendigo, so be careful when you drop in here. Once we've cleared all of them out, we'll find the Bysshe Remote Robotics Terminal inside a cabin. Let's see what it has to say. The first entry is titled Access Instructions.
Access to the Bysshe Company Assaultron Recall technology is highly restricted and requires authorization by way of a Bysshe Company-issued Assaultron Recall keycard. This is last resort technology to be used only in extreme circumstances. Therefore, these cards are one-time use only. Please apply for a new keycard through the proper channels.
So according to this, it sounds like you've only got one shot to get this done. That's not entirely true. You can get more keycards. We'll talk about that once we get through all the lore. The next entry is Note Capture Procedure from Wolf.
HQ, this is Wolf, about to attempt recall and capture of AWOL unit. As noted earlier, this is a very dangerous operation, leaving a log of the procedure in case attempt is a failure. I'm gonna dispense with the brevity here. This is important. The unit is equipped with shielding technology that protects it from all manner of weapons. To disable this shield, agents will have to use the pylons I acquired. Activating a pylon makes its user a conduit, channeling a high voltage through the user to the target. Only all three pylons combined have enough voltage to disable the target's shield. This is very stressful on the body, painful, but it's the only way. If I don't make it, good luck to the next of you. Wolf, out.
Our last entry is Unlock Recall System.
Unlocking this system requires an Assaultron Recall keycard. Keycards are one-time use and cannot be returned. Once unlocked, the system remains accessible for a limited period of time, during which preparations may be made. It is the user's responsibility to initiate Assaultron Recall during this time.
Now we can use our keycard and hear from Wolf.
Alright, listen up, agents. If you're hearing this, that means I left unfinished business for you. That don't sit well with me. You've just initiated the recall process for a rogue assaultron. A tough one. This thing's got a shield so strong, hardly anything will dent it. But I have just the solution for that. There are 3 pylons set up around the area. Starting one of these up makes you a conduit. Long story short, that means you're full of juice. Juice that pumps from you right into that robot shield. You'll need all 3 active to down it. Good luck. Hope you fare better than I did.
And with that, we initiate the event Encryptid. This is one of the toughest events in Fallout 76 and is intended for a coordinated group of high-level players, not just one person running it solo like I am here. While it's possible to complete it solo with a lot of preparation, it's extremely difficult. It's a repeatable event. You can acquire new key cards from any train station in Appalachia for a not insignificant amount of caps, and it has one of the most sought-after rewards in the game, the plan for the Fixer. Learning that plan allows you to not just craft your own fixers, but it also allows them to drop with legendary effects from events and from the Purveyor. Considering that I'm not at all capable of completing the event solo on this character, and the fact that I've already released a detailed walkthrough of it, I'll just suggest that you check that out if you want to see how it works and get some strategy ideas. I also go into detail on all of the unique rewards you can get from the event. I'll post a link in the eye here and at the end of the video, which is coming right up because we've reached the end of the story. Calvin Van Lowe and his sister Shelley ran a taxidermy shop in Lewisburg. Calvin was obsessed with cryptids, notably the sheep squatch, spending lots of time with his buddies, hunting for them and following conspiracy theories. After he graduated college, he got a job with the shadowy Bysshe Company, who hired him to create a fake sheep squatch that would scare the residents of Lewisburg into moving, thereby depressing property values and allowing them to buy up the town for pennies on the dollar. Eventually, Calvin's obsessions would come back to haunt him. He tried to install mating subroutines into his imposter sheep squatch in the hopes that it would attract a real one that he could finally see up close. But that backfired when his creation attempted to mate with him aggressively. Following those events, Wolf, the fixer assigned to kill Calvin after he continuously failed to deliver on his creation, had no choice but to try to recover the imposter sheep squatch. He clearly failed, and now it's up to us to do it. I absolutely loved this quest. There was so much attention to detail, so many little things that connected to older games, and even future characters in this one. All the notes and recordings added up to paint an extremely detailed picture, and it was just perfect. Fallout 76 takes a lot of crap for its pre-Wastelanders quests, but this one was stellar. All the pieces fit, and you could pick up every little detail if you just paid close enough attention. I loved it, and I really hope we get to see more quests like this in the future. And that brings us to the end of this series, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it, and maybe discovered something you missed along the way. Remember, if you like videos like this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel for more in the future. And if you want to see that detailed walkthrough of Encryptid, the link will be coming up again in just a second. Thanks for watching. I'm Fisty McRib.